Will the Minobus ever not be cool? I'm not sure. It certainly is quite good right now, though. Its current year going to be taking his Minobus build in a land battle against some foul vampire counts. Vlad von Karstein on the opposite side of the field here. Let's take a look at the builds. We've got 3 Minotaurs with great weapons, so quite a bit of elite anti-large AP. We've got Taurox leading the way, some Razorgore herds as a front screen, and then Bray Shaman Lore Wild, rocking some Bray Screamer and Devolve. We've also got Ungor Spearmen, plenty of them, the Regiment of Renowned Centaur Throwing Axes, and then it looks like the Sons of Goros as well, just in case of Ethereals. For the Vampire counts, Vlad in the center. We've got a Regiment of Renowned Mortis Engine, the Claw of Nagash, some Crypt Horrors, some zombies, and when I say some zombies, I mean a load of zombies. Sternsmen in the back, Skeleton Spears, Black Coach there for some key terror. Necromancer looks like on a corpse cart. Yes. Just a regular corpse cart. I don't see Unholy Lodestone anywhere. And then that's pretty much it, so let's get the battle rolling here. The Crypt Horrors are going to advance straight up the pipe. Nice wide vampire army. And the Minotaurs here are going to be decent in this matchup. Minotaurs are not great at attrition fighting, though. They're more of a shock type unit to charge in, deal a bunch of damage, then get out before they get overly bogged down. So here they get a nice little side charge on those Crypt Horrors, and now going to pull away. Razor Gores also getting a nice flanking maneuver here to try and charge into the back of this formation. Potential for a huge surround on the opposite flank, though. Vlad coming in, getting a nice summon on the Grog Hooves there, who should be just fine against zombies. I mean, certainly they're self-healing in, I think it's just general self-healing, right? Yeah, should be able to keep them nice and topped up. Meanwhile, the Sons of Goros managed to find their way in the back line and collapse this Black Coach, while the general Beastmen army just kind of collapses a lot of the skeletons and zombies. But at the same time, again, these Minotaurs are not going to be super efficient fighting these high model count, high HP vampire counts infantry units, although they can charge in and do quite a bit of damage. That low armor, low melee defense, only 33 melee defense on these Minotaurs, only 35 armor as well, means that like the Skeleton Spearmen especially, but just in general, those skeleton units, any hits they get on them are going to be very cost efficient. So it's smart to kind of pull them back a little bit, maybe try and maneuver and find another good avenue to charge. That said, that is going to leave the Ungor Spearman herd a little bit out to dry. Many of them are already routed and coming back. The leadership's not all that great, but at the same time, sniping off a nice high-value target here, getting rid of at least one terror piece. Obviously, the Claw of Nagash and Vlad both cause terror as well. Vlad, in particular, is going to be very tanky. Could be a huge problem in the late game with that. But Blood Greed does give immune to psychology, and it's even when it's, you know, at its basic charge-up factor, right? Only 5% intensity, but still does give that full immune to psychology. So Minotaurs, at the very least, should be able to hold their leadership, not get terrified away. But now collapsing once again, this huge herd of Minotaurs. That's crazy. It's like 30, 40 Minotaurs right there, right? Yeah, absolutely nuts. They come in here, they're going to just wreck all the units that they touch, more or less. If they're able to get a surround on the Claw of Nagash, that'll be fantastic. But just in general, yeah, they finish off the Black Coach there. Grog Hooves also throwing some axes from the side here. Have just about used up all their ammunition, which is decent. Yeah, decent amount of value so far. Not quite paid for themselves, though, so they will need to be cycle charging in melee a little bit. And definitely perfect vigor, great overall stats, and self-healing can do so quite efficiently. But Ungor Spearman herd are generally having a rough go of it, definitely. Coming back, filtering back in. But the Beastmen, I mean, this blob fight right now is going okay, but you see how the Minotaurs are starting to lose out and kind of get ground down a little bit against something like the Crypt Horrors. Crypt Horrors self-healing. Even though they deal less damage, just overall less impressive stats. 40 melee attack is certainly still enough to make consistent contact against the Minotaurs. They're also, with their poison, decreasing the damage that the Minotaurs are doing overall, so it's just not the best engagement for the Bulls here. They're going to filter out, screen through the Razorgores, try and get back away. Bray Shaman unleashing some more foul magics here as well, blasting away zombies with the Bray Scream. Meanwhile, over here, Taurox gets a little bit caught up. The Sons of Goros, not the Sons of Goros here, the Grog Hooves, had initially gotten a pretty good engagement. The Claw of Nagash doesn't have much armor. They were able to do quite a bit of damage to it. Now, Torox himself desperately trying to finish it off. Full surround, but it looks like the Claw of Nagash having some issues turning around because of all these high mass unit models. The Crypt Horrors and even Centaurs seem to be blocking it up a little bit there. And as a result, very decisive. Torox is able to get in here despite the Master Beguilement. Looks like he's going to finish off. Yeah, Claw of Nagash is indeed going down there. Maybe. Looks like he got an invocation to heck. Trying to stabilize the HP. It is teetering on the edge of ruin there. Meanwhile, the Minotaurs are peeling around, kind of splitting up, trying to siphon off high-value targets. Devolve to decrease the melee attack of those Crypt Horrors. Just heavily debuff them and single them out with some Minotaur's great weapons there. Beautifully done. That said, Claw of Nagash down. Torox is getting beat up pretty bad by Vlad, though, and he's now stuck between a rock and a gooey undead place where Crypt Horrors are smacking him. Vlad also great armor-piercing damage and stats overall. He comes to engage, that's going to be a big problem. Torox is very likely to suffer quite badly, but let's keep a broad view here. We've got a couple of Minotaur's weapons that have also collapsed to this position now to give some heavy support. Should be able to bail Torox out at the very least and keep him from dying, even if they're not able to necessarily save him, but we'll see. I mean, he's still got a quarter of HP left, so should be able to recover his leadership. Meanwhile, over here, this other unit of Minotaurs pulls back. Again, very smart screening, using them more as a shock-type unit, cycle charging as much as possible like you would with a shock cavalry or chariot. Yeah, screening through the spearmen, filtering the spearmen in to fight the zombies and the Crypt Horrors. And these other Beastmen units also, despite their tattered leadership, are coming back to play a little bit more. Nice Bray Scream there in a fat blob. That is probably getting some really nice value, although Bray Shaman also suffering some leadership issues. Torox able to peel up and around here. You see this nice curved order. You can kind of shift-click, if you didn't know, and set waypoints. Or I think if you just hold, you can actually draw a path for your unit to run. But there you see Torox is kind of taking a specific journey to go around and avoid some of these engagements. Very interesting to see that advanced move order there. Not something you see all the time, but it's current year showing his veterancy and experience in Total War. Utilizing such an order, unfortunately, the Razorgore Herde's leadership is going to falter there and let him down, but these Minotaur's weapons are still grinding heavily. Balance of power is definitely going in Vampire Count's favor. A lot of that is because of Vlad is still so healthy and Torox is so beat up. Characters do tend to weigh very heavily on the balance of power, especially like hybrid caster duelist characters, which Vlad is one of the few. But anyway, Minotaurs here continuing to crush it. They've got a lot of kills, a lot of value. Yeah, 226 kills there, and only 900 value, which is pretty interesting to see. These guys have got over 1,000, but not quite 200 kills, so definitely anyone's game at this point. But Minotaur is going to once again collapse the back of the Crypt Horrors. Beastmen trying their best to, again, thin these things out. The Sternsmen fighting and regenerating. They are on fire, technically, because of Torox fire damage. That's something a lot of people forget about, including myself, but Torox fire damage benefits him heavily in this matchup. Not only does he get a damage boost, obviously, against standard regeneration units like those Crypt Horrors he just finished off there, but of course reduces healing, which is super important against vampire counts, and I think he's the only source of fire damage actually on Beastman's roster, and it just so happens he's the best combat lord and can stand and fight against a lot of what Beastmen can throw at him, or vampire counts rather. So interesting to see this. So far it's going okay, but definitely things are looking a little bit rough there. We've got that little bit of devolve on the Sternsmen just to again nerf their melee attack stats and offensive output. The Sons of Goros once again collapsing. They have Guardian, right? Yes, they do. So if they're close by fighting with Torox, that extra physical resistance will definitely help if he has to fight Vlad in the late game. But a nice Bray Scream there. Continuing to generate value and fight in melee. This Bray Shaman doesn't have the best defensive stats, but over 300 weapon strength. Decent charge bonus on foot as well, of course, as he is a Beastman. But yeah, definitely at this point, Vlad's support is starting to run out, and he is going to get surrounded and circle beaten by angry two-handed cows. So that's great, definitely. Absolutely fantastic. The question is, are there enough angry two-hand cows to actually kill Vlad? And he's got some more zombie summons, of course, in his back pocket to pull up, continue to get support here. So we're going to fast forward, as this will take some time, of angry cows beating, Torox himself fighting. You can get the Bray Shaman in here for a little bit of wild action. Torox, though, very wisely does not get killed and just runs away instead. So his units won't suffer the Lord died leadership penalty. Vlad quickly approaching his healing cap, but man, look at this battlefield for a minute. Sheesh. Think about the raised dead opportunities for whatever enterprising Vampire Count's character chooses to come next to this particular area, but yeah. Again, circle beating. Torox comes in here, finally gets shattered, so he is going to actually rout now. Question is, can the cows kill Vlad before he routs? Because they will suffer a temporary leadership debuff after he flees off the side. Like I said, this goes on for some time, but it is Minotaur circle beating Vlad, and it gets so close by the end of it here. We've got literally 1 unit of Minotaurs just barely hanging on. 8 unit models still is quite a bit, but notice how its current year is very wisely keeping the Bray Shaman in the vicinity for the encouraged leadership buff, but is not moving him into melee, because then he would just get terrified and run away, and that would be a big issue for the balance of power. But Vlad ends up getting crumped by the Minotaurs, can't quite get his attack animations off, ends up getting staggered quite a bit, and just dies. So I love to see that. Love to see me some beautiful Minotaur finish. Was super close there at the end, but the one that ended up actually finishing off Vlad, he's an infantry unit, granted. He's not necessarily subject to their bonus versus large, but still 3,353 damage gold value, 32,000 damage dealt overall. Absolutely fantastic. Both the other Minotaurs also paid for themselves and then some, so just a beautiful performance overall. You would expect to see a little bit of inflated values when you're fighting, especially like a high value healing character like Vlad, who's very likely to heal cap. But still, you still have to do the damage to win, right? So Torox, again, getting a crazy amount of value, 335 kills, and lots of chaff clearing for the Bray Shaman doing his job there. Centaurs help support in a reasonable way. The Ungor Spearmen are kind of just glorified meat shields here, but they actually do a decent job in a couple of circumstances. 208 kills. Fantastic, killing a lot of zombies there, and then some others getting some nice value against the Cryptors, who also paid for themselves. Decent performance also from the Sternsman. Vlad, not quite what you would want from him. He is quite expensive, and I think early on there was a Wind of Death that I didn't call out that I think was ultimately a big waste of magic, that had that been used on other magic means it could have benefited the Vampire Counts greatly. I would definitely say, Beastmen infantry are not really what you need to worry about in this matchup, so I'd probably swap that Wind of Death out for Gaze of Nagash so that you can deal some decent anti-large missile damage with that magic missile if you are looking for damage output with your spells. Alternately, you can just use it all on healing and zombie summons, which is probably the better thing to do at the end of the day. Also, no Blood Knights. Blood Knights are quite solid in this matchup, but I do respect the pick of the Black Coach, even if it didn't do anything. Skeletons are skeletons, hard for them to go wrong. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.